Welcome to Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal discussion about our beloved series, Star Trek. And now we do our clap. Oh no, not yet. You are not recording. We will wait, Lord Vader. But remember, I am not as forgiving as you are. Is that how the Emperor? Is that how Vader got that line? Ooh.
Pray, pray. The Emperor. Oh no, what is it? Yeah.
He says something about you can tell him yourself, Captain Nita.
The Emperor?
The Emperor?
He's coming here?
Is coming here? Yes. And he is not as forgiving as I am. We shall redouble our efforts.
Did you imagine like your yearly evaluation at work, but Vader's your boss?
Oh my gosh. I bet has someone done this, like a YouTube? I'm giving you a 4 this year.
You allowed 16 rebels to escape.
Tarkin squashed them all with his Star Destroyer. I mean, Star Destroyer. I can't get my Star Wars stuff right.
Because you're wearing.
Are you ready to do the clap?
You're wearing all the Star Trek stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my thing. All right, 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. All right, that was very good. You are recording, right?
My mama told me
you are recording.
I am indeed.
What did your mom tell you?
I sent you the recording from earlier today, too.
From before?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're official. And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today I'm joined, once again, by the Martian, and it's the same day.
I know. Twice in one day.
It's the same day. I'm gonna do something with my lighting here while you tell the audience the story of our day.
Well, due to the holidays, Starfleet Boy is an episode behind. We are a couple episodes behind.
Couple episodes.
So we're making up for that. We recorded an episode earlier today, which you'll be hearing. All you Starfleet Boy fans out there will be hearing very soon.
Very soon.
Then we had an amazing dinner.
We did.
We did indeed. We transported to the same restaurant on the promenade.
That's a good.
The promenade of Earth.
I like that. It was the Earth.
And
the Earth version. Oh, look at that crazy shadow in the background with this lighting scheme. I think this is tonight's theme. This is Black Alert.
And now we're about to record a second episode.
But we saw each other in real life. IRL, as the kids say.
I know.
We just got back from that, actually.
Or is it just another virtual world and we don't know it?
I hope no one in our audience watches this while on psychedelics.
Are we the ship in the bottle, if you will?
We are indeed. Ruben, I'm so happy to have this opportunity to catch up with you, but also to catch up on Starfleet Boy. So I'm really grateful. Thank you very much. And also, I forgot to mention, because we were kind of rushed in the last one, that it's the new decade. Happy new decade. Happy New Year, audience.
That's right.
Crazy stuff.
Very important. Happy New Year, everybody.
A big year, a very important year. If there's one message Starfleet Boy would like to give to society, I think right now, in the immediate year, the most pressing thing is go vote. Register to vote. And do your best to research and find out everything you can about the candidate that you're going to vote for.
Indeed.
And that's it.
Democracy depends on informed voters.
Yes, let's not let our democracy die to thunderous applause. Cheers to that. There's just water. But you could toast noble toast to water, I think. I think it's fine.
I mean, if we're going to toast anything really in life, it's water. Right?
It's true. Wait till the water wars start. Are there any science fiction shows that dealt with basic resources like water or air and people going to war over it?
Well, yeah. I mean, Mad Max sort of became that.
Oh yeah, duh. That's right.
Even though the original Mad Max wasn't really about that. The original Mad Max was just basically like a cop, a kind of extreme cop going after extreme bad guys. It wasn't really all about post-apocalyptic stuff. It was part 2 that kind of went in that direction, and kind of that's what the series became.
Oh, interesting. Bringing it back to Star Trek. Sorry, I took it there.
Mad Max.
Look what I found.
Wow. Old school AF.
This was issued apparently by the 20th anniversary, and I was alive for this anniversary.
That was what, 86, right?
I guess. Let's see. What's the published date here? I bought this 1986. Very good. September of 20th anniversary edition. First printing of this, though, was 1975. So this was a
crazy.
Reprint of an original book.
It should be in a box.
What's that?
Mine should be. I had that too. I wonder if mine's probably in a box somewhere. With the next, you have the next gen one too, right?
I do. Wait. I found a treasure trove. Treasure trove. I also have this.
Ooh,
this is the
nice
Wrath of Khan script, the actual script, not the one, not like the one that was used in the movie. This one has cool, photography in it.
Yeah, I have that. Whatever company made that one, I have the one for Return of the Jedi. Because I noticed that little square that's cut out on the cover.
Yeah.
My Return of the Jedi one has that too.
They're collector's editions. This one was issued by Paramount. So yeah.
I remember they used to sell them at that theater on US 1.
I don't know. You're into role-playing. I don't know if you remember the FASA Star Trek role-playing. I have the technical manual. The officer's manual.
Nice.
From that. I DM'd
amazing.
a lot.
Yeah.
So I needed to know how all this shit worked. Can you imagine pouring a part of your brain into learning about fake technology that doesn't exist?
And how it's supposed to really work. And
look, and the minutia of this is what a Tellarite looks like in Starfleet uniform.
I mean, the amount of information we poured over as kids.
It was insane. I legitimately have some expertise, although I can't access it some people can just spout it out. But I know it. It's there. It's all in my head somewhere. And then I have this edition of Larry Nemechek's Star Trek Companion, but this one only goes up to season 5. So TNG didn't even finish when I bought this.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of nuts. I had to know.
Season 5.
So unfortunately,
92, 93.
Yeah, we can't go to this one to look at information, but Humbert, the Doctor, has the most current version, and you can still get it. It's still in print, which I've been meaning to buy.
And I guess it would involve a Voyager.
This was about Star Trek Phase 2.
Oh, yeah.
There's a cool picture of George Takei and Leonard Nimoy.
That's William Shatner
like
there. He's a real jerk.
Oh my goodness. There are some really weird stories about the cast of the original series. Did you know, I was pointed out to me, William Peck, shout out to William Peck, one of our longest supporters on Starfleet Boys. He's so great. He always does a good job of like balancing history with the new, and he reminds me that recently he reminds us that the original series cast was like they were haters towards TNG. They were like not about it. They were like, "What do you mean a next generation?
There's only one Star Trek, you MFers.
There's only one generation." Open hailing frequencies.
I think it's just like
give us permission.
A natural tendency to just, especially I guess in that sense where it's like, no, we're Star Trek, you know? You can't make more.
We are.
And nowadays they're like, how much you gonna pay me for this reboot? All right.
I mean, you can't take away the I guess the prestige of being the original cast. I mean, they actually defined everything that we believe about Star Trek and all the meaty stuff.
Yeah, in regard, without them, nothing else happens.
Right.
You know?
It's true. I mean, they have the privilege, as they say, to be the original. So you can't take that away from anyone. And TNG we're going to get on topic, I promise. But TNG now has this like distinguished place as well. Like I think it's looked at more and more as I don't know, what would you call it? Like there's the fire that lights, and then there's what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of like, or TNG's kind of
TNG's the first torch that was lit.
You know, people
and
like.
Now I would say that Discovery is another torch, and then now Picard is another torch.
I mean, I think it'd probably a hot take here, but I would say TNG is really what people think of nowadays when they think of Star Trek. The average person.
Let's hear it. What do they think of?
I think TNG is kind of the flagship of Star Trek now.
Oh, that it is what they think of.
Yeah.
No, yes, that's. Oh, I thought you said wasn't. Yeah, I would agree with that. The story of Star Trek, another little behind-the-scenes production type of book, which is pretty cool too. And I guess these two are written by the same group of people. It's like no author named. Oh, this one does. Edward Gross. These are both Edward Gross. These are like more Star Trek behind the scenes.
Man,
type
they didn't
books.
even try with those covers, huh? It's like blue background and word art.
Some of these were given to me, and I think they were gotten at a convention. And you know how those books are.
Yeah.
Like
that gross guy was probably some dude who just like an accountant.
It's me. It's Starfleet Boy. If I wrote a book about Star Trek, that's my goal for the next 10 years.
Write a book on
Star Trek. There we go.
Trek?
Star Trek. Yeah, I read a Star Trek book. What's it going to be called? Deep Inside the Wormhole. I don't know. Let's get this party started. We are talking about inheritance. TNG's inheritance. Do you want to do the whatchamacallit, the episode summary?
Yes, this is going to be very sloppy because we did have dinner and I didn't have time to prepare as much as I usually do.
I'll help you.
But
we'll do it together.
We'll get through it. So the Enterprise arrives at Altria 4, where the core is apparently solidifying and cooling.
And they didn't know about that movie, The Core, yet, where all you have to do is like explode nuclear missiles to get it to spin again or something like that. I forget.
What is it? Data and Geordi talk about injecting plasma into the core. And then there's two members of a science team there. One is, I guess they're like a married couple? I forget. Were they married?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely married, yeah.
Pran.
Whoa, that's too intense.
Pran and Juliana Tainer.
Tainer, yes.
And just before the little teaser ends, before the opening credits, she reveals to Data that she was once the wife of Noonien Soon.
How crazy is that?
So she's Data's
really
mom.
Nutty shit. And he's like totally doubtful.
Right, he's just like, what?
After the credits, they cut to that scene where he like removes his hand from hers. Dr. Tainer, you'll understand. I'll have to corroborate this with official sources.
He's like, I don't know about that. You need to chill out with that touchy lady.
She's very touchy. I love her.
Yeah, she was really sweet. She was really. The actress is. What is her name? Oh my God.
It's an interesting name, but she's been on a lot of Star Trek. She's been on DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise.
Oh, really?
She comes back. Mm-hmm.
But
I just can't remember her. I'm blanking on her name.
I know. I'm trying to find it here, and I can't find it. Oh, played by Fionnuala Flanagan.
Fionnuala Flanagan.
That's pretty wild.
It's a very nice Irish name.
Yeah. Whoa, Fionnuala. That's all I got.
That's like the worst Irish accent I've ever heard. I always just do the one from Back to the Future 3. I'll tell you what I'll do for you, Mr. Eastwood. I'll take you as far as the tracks, and I'll even give you a hat. And then you hear in the background the plates, and then Seamus McFly.
So where are we at now? So the teaser.
So she tells Data that she's his mom, and he starts to investigate, and he finds some evidence about something she said. She said that Soong and she got married on some Melvana 3 or something like that, and so he doesn't find their marriage certificate because the Melvanans lost their documentation. Apparently, they keep paper. Or something.
Somebody hit Command Delete and accidentally.
Yeah, or something. Just like on the whole planet.
Bin. Yeah, they never thought of a trash bin on their software. So.
That is a crazy thing to think about, like especially with our world today and data and how it really works. Big data. But anyways, he doesn't find evidence of a marriage certificate, but he does find that they were both on the same transport going to Melvana and coming back to what's the name of the planet he was found on? Omicron Theta?
Yeah.
Omicron Theta. And they come back, so Data's still skeptical, but Geordi's like, Data. I mean, what more do you need? They were together.
Right.
She said that this happened or whatever. So then he decides to trust her.
Don't be an idiot. Train your cat.
It's so true. We don't see Spot in this episode, but we see the painting of Spot that Data made. So anyways, he starts to catch up with Mom. And I just took over the summary. You're just sitting back.
No, yeah. No. Go ahead.
You're like, you're just okay. I just want to make sure you're good with it.
You're doing a great job.
You can interject. You can take it back at any point if you want to.
Because I'm like, whoa, this sounds like a cool episode.
I should always do the summary. It'll get higher ratings. So some of the more touching scenes are Data showing his mom his paintings and that he can play music, and she gets excited and wants to play with him and do a duet.
Right.
And then it kind of triggers something in her, and we find out she looks like she's kind of emotionally disturbed or whatever, and Data finally gets it out of her, and we find out that the reason, because he's like, well, why didn't you try to find me? Like, she says, I've been following your career and you I'm so proud of you. And he's like, well, how come this whole time you didn't try to find me? And the answer to the question is she abandoned him. She left Data behind when the crystalline entity attacked Omicron Theta. And yeah, she abandoned her child.
Yeah, she left her baby behind. Her baby
she
robot.
left poor little baby Data, which we find out we'll talk hopefully in depth about Data's childhood and the nude period. I don't know if you remember that. Data, of course, claims he's not affected by the emotionality of this, but she insists that he could still be hurt, which is an interesting insight into an emotionless being. They may not have feelings, but they can still experience a kind of
right. Well, what's
thing
that,
such as hurt.
What's that line from another episode where Troy explains how Data explains missing somebody, basically? Where his neural patterns get used to...
The engrams.
Yeah, they get used to seeing somebody, and when it's not there, he kind of experiences missing somebody. That's how.
Yeah,
that's
it's
how
true. That was a cute,
yeah,
kind of sweet thing. Aw, Data. Anyway, what triggers her actually is when he tells his mom about Lol and how her positronic brain failed. And she's just like, oh my God. And she like spills the beans about how there were a total of 5 androids. So we know B4 is one of them, but apparently there were 2 androids that didn't work. And then there was Lore, who turned out to be a complete like dick, basically. And then to solve that problem, they took away emotions and made Data, and so now she was like faced with, what do I do? We just turned this thing on. They didn't even turn him on, really. Actually, he hadn't been booted up for the first time beyond his testing phase, and she told Noonien to leave it behind.
Yeah,
and you get it. You kind of totally get it. As a kid, I could never have fathomed these things, but like now being 40 years old, like I've experienced through friends and family who've lost children, in various ways, like when they're trying to have a child, and this totally reflects that kind of experience. And so you could see there's a lot of trauma for Juliana, and Soong was like I give no F's, like I'll do what I want kind of guy at that time.
Fuck ethics.
Which we see a little glimpse of here too in this episode. So anyways, Data kind of is processing that, and she is too. And in the meantime, there's all these like kind of problems going on, like minor things pertaining to the planet core. They have to drill to like almost the depth of the magma pockets or whatever, like so that they can place these like devices there that'll basically reheat the core and get it started again. And they're successful in the drilling, things like that. But there's one time during the drilling where it's the Enterprise is rocking. There's some feedback or whatever, and Juliana very quickly like figures out how to stop it. And Geordi was just starting to say that could take hours or whatever. Like, we don't have enough time to calculate that. And so Data takes note of that. And the other thing is when they were practicing the violin piece and viola piece that they play together, Data noticed that like during the actual performance it was exactly the same. And then he also noticed that
so he knows his specific pattern.
Her blink pattern resembles his, which is based on the Fibonacci or something like that. Some kind of formula. I wrote it down in my notes. Anyways, it's based on this algorithm or this formula, and it's the same exact pattern in Juliana. So he starts to get like a little suspicious. Finally, there's this like disaster, and Juliana's husband, who I haven't mentioned in this episode, which is okay because the episode doesn't really care about him very much. Because when you find out the decision that Data makes, everyone ignores the husband. Like, should he know? Should he have a right to know?
Does he? I mean, yeah, and like, does he know?
Anyways, he is a little biased towards androids, so he's suspicious of Data in the beginning.
And so I guess she's anatomically perfect, like.
Yeah. Anyways, so she like goes down with Data. Her husband's injured. He beams up, and they cross paths. Whatever. They go down because they're the only hope for the planet. Otherwise, it'll be like months, and by then the core could solidify. And they repair. Data and Mom work really well together and repair the device. By the way, I just have a question. I'm going to pause at this moment. I love this episode, but they have a cool shot where we look up at this like tunnel that's been dug by phasers, right? And you can clearly see an opening where there's sky at the very top, right? So why do they have to go back to the beam out site? Like with the pattern enhancers? Like, couldn't they just beam out? Couldn't the Enterprise? I mean, there's line of sight.
Right. That's always usually been described as the problem, that you gotta, if you're under a rock or something, the thing can't get you. But
maybe there's a tunneling effect that occurs that they can't compensate for it. Their pattern will bounce too crazily or something. I don't know. But it would have been cool to get a science fiction Trek-splanation. Anyways, they have to race back to the beam out site, and on the way there, they have to jump like a pretty long ways down. And when they do, Juliana's arm breaks off. And lo and behold, this whole time, she's been an android. And Data looks like completely shocked. And then the next scene, it's really nice. She's there. She looks beautiful, by the way that they did her hair, and they have her laying there.
Right, the lighting.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to look to see if the actress... You check. Is the actress still around? Go to IMDb. I don't want to be the one to do it. Click. She's so beautiful, though. I was mesmerized by her. I remember when I was young, like thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind if she was my mom.
She's from Dublin, Ireland.
And she's still working?
She's 78.
Oh, tell me how to say her name again.
Fionnuala Flanagan.
Fionnuala Flanagan, we dedicate this episode of Starfleet Boy to you. And if you're on Cameo, I'll be looking for you.
I see her here as the pictures of her appearances on Star Trek.
Oh, cool. I wish we could share that. I think you can share your screen.
Oh, but I have a bunch of porn up and stuff, so I don't want to.
Oh. That's definitely not what we wanted to know.
I can't do the show otherwise. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, great. And by that he means starships, obviously.
Yes.
So, Data and Geordi and Dr. Crusher and Picard and everyone's there, as a matter of fact, because it's such a shocking thing, are all hovering over her and trying to figure out what's been going on. And actually Riker even says, like, or someone says, does the husband know? And Riker's like, probably a good thing he doesn't, which alludes to, it's actually really great because it alludes to an earlier scene where he was like untrusting of Data. So Riker's like, oh, that guy, I don't think we need to tell him. So there is some, I guess, anchor points for not for not telling him set up here, which is fun. We can discuss if we buy it or not.
I mean, it's weird that they don't too, because he's an interesting point of view. You know,
he is. Well, he also we'll get into it more, but he like does that little thing where he's like, Data, Juliana feels really bad about what happened and wants to talk to you, and then Data's like, okay, and then they have that really good exchange. And then he looks back at the husband and he's like, okay. So it looks like now that everything's out in the open, he's encouraging of their bonding and kind of like, even though he's suspicious of Data, which, by the way, if I were your husband and you told me stories about your megalomaniac, insane first android called Lore that tried to kill everyone...
And now you're on the ship with the brother.
I would be suspicious of Data too. It's like, that's so crazy. Thank goodness Laura didn't know about Juliana, because that would have been a messed up episode. I'm back, Mother.
Laura just happens to show up. Just like in that episode where they both get summoned by the signal.
By the signal, it's true. Anyways, Geordi and Data find a removable module or chip, and they see that it has a holographic interface. So Data takes it to the holodeck. He puts it in, and there's Soong, and it's interactive. And Dr. Soong's program even has like a contingency for Data, which is kind of awesome. That like Soong was like, well, it's the off chance.
Soong's insane.
Soong is insane. And he explains that the real Juliana Soong was injured, slipped during the attack, slipped into a coma, and then died. But that he had perfected his brain scanner, essentially, and was able to scan her memory engrams or her brain patterns or whatever, and then imprint them into a positronic brain. And when the android woke up, she thought she was Juliana.
Right.
She had no
She just got knocked out.
idea.
Everything's good.
Yeah, and that was it. And Soong programmed the android portion of Juliana to shut down if something goes wrong, and her androidness is to be discovered. He also, and Dr. Crusher points out, built her with like sweat glands. There's like a device that like tricks.
She's like insane because
she's insane. There's a device that tricks like computers into thinking that she has bio like signatures, like actual like human
like a heart
vitals that change throughout her age. She's designed to age, and she's designed to live a happy long life and just shut down at some point. It's like kind of beautiful. It's Frankenstein in a way.
It's it's a perfect creation. Like he perfected his.
It's really cool. She's really cool. Anyways, he tells Data. He pleads with Data to not tell Juliana that she's an android. That to let her live out the rest of her life thinking she's human. And so Data has this like powwow with Counselor Troy, Dr. Crusher, and Picard. And Troy's like, don't tell her. And Crusher's like, what are you talking about? She has a right to know. And they come to the conclusion that like, or Troy has the last word anyways, where she's saying that like basically by telling her she's an android, you're gonna rob her of the thing that you want more than anything, which is to be human, because right now she thinks she's human. I think that's what does it. And Picard, of course, is like, whatever you decide, we support. And we just won't enter any of this into the official log because Starfleet might have a problem with us not telling the husband. Just saying. Admiral Nechayev is always on my back. Just don't enter it in the log.
We can edit the episode to digitally add the husband in the back, like going, can I, oh, excuse me, I'd like to say something.
That would have made it a perfect episode, but also I think too cheesy. There has to be a little bit of like drama, like a little bit of like something to argue about, right? It's true. So they wake her up. Data tells her she had a fall and she went unconscious for a little bit, but that she had a broken bone and it was mended and that she was fine. And they have a sweet moment which made me cry like a little tiny baby Sohail. Like lots of tears. Where basically she says something like, if two parents... What was it? Oh, hold on, I actually wrote this down. I don't want to get this wrong. A child born from parents who love each other will always produce like nothing but goodness, and that explains Data. But even though 4 times before that it failed, and they must not have been loving each other when they made lore.
Well, it's interesting that soon the real woman dies. Soon makes a robot, and then a few years later the robot's like, hey man.
Oh, I failed to mention that too. She left him.
She left him.
That's right.
And he was like,
she left soon.
Okay.
That's right.
Probably thinking one day someone's going to tell you you're a damn robot. It's going to crush your damn heart.
and that's actually beautiful because it ties in to that same last scene, because Data says that his father told him once that there was one woman who was the one great love of his life, and he believed that it was her. And she's like, oh, that's good to know, Data. That's really good.
You're my Lucky Charms.
That's not... She doesn't sound like the leprechaun from Lucky Charms. She has a soothing, lovely voice.
I also think of the
not
Irish
like
woman from the season 1 episode where they have like the sheep and all that
great.
stuff. Commander Riker.
Will you wash my feet? Wasn't it something like that?
Total foot.
Or my ankles are dirty.
Fetish weirdness going on in Star Trek.
Some weird fetishes. Although Riker's totally into the weird, the weird fetishes. I think that's my summary. Was it good? It was like 30 minutes.
Not bad. It was
a long summary.
Oh, we've had longer, I think.
I think we have.
Usually when I do them.
This one was pretty long. This one sparked a little discussion.
Well, it's just it brings up some interesting questions. I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Would you tell her?
No, I wouldn't have the heart to. I totally agreed with the decision. She's so sweet. She's like the perfect mother.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like it would destroy, like she would just like short circuit and die, and it would be my fault. It would happen right in front of me.
Her husband's like, that explains why every 60 days she says updating software.
Did you watch
having breakfast, updating software?
Did you watch The Umbrella Academy?
I saw a few episodes, yeah.
Do you remember the mother is like a robot?
Oh yeah, what do they call her?
Those were the parts that got me the most, and now I know why. It's because of this freaking episode. I have this like
the Star Trek
cybernetic
connection.
Mother desire. Like, what would Freud say? I thought of something really weird and I thought I'd ask my mother about it because she likes Star Trek, and we didn't watch this episode together this time, but I'm sure we've watched it at some point together. And I asked her, I was like, Mom, do you remember Data's mom? She's like, oh, I think so, which she would probably say even if she didn't remember. but I said, Dr. Soong, Data's father, took his mom's brain basically and put it into a robot so that she could live a long, long time. How would you feel if I took your brain and put it into a robot so that I could have you around for forever? And she looked at me really scared, like thinking, is this a real technology? Like, is he really trying to sell me?
It's only $149.99.
You'll be in an iPhone for a little while.
And then the IBO.
Oh, God. And then finally, back in your robot body. No, but then she realized that I was asking a question. She goes, that's sweet, but I don't want that. And I thought that was cool. I hope I'm like her when I get into my 70s. You know what I mean? Because right now I'm like, robot body, bring it. Let's go. No more pain. Superhuman strength. Don't have to sleep.
It's not a bad deal.
It's compelling.
There's Riker again.
Hi, Riker.
Which is another interesting thing is, remember the episode season 1 or 2? It was season 2 because Pulaski was the doctor.
Data's grandfather,
who transferred his brain into Data and claims he taught Soong basically everything.
Everything, yeah. Which, it's very cool.
And
all of it comes together. This episode, in a weird way, is like the completion of an arc. If you put all those episodes together, it would actually kind of make a nice story.
Like the Data family tree.
The Data family set. And that includes the lore episodes. So you would have all that. The crystallized entity episodes. There's a lot of episodes that can go into this arc. Very nice. I like it. I like it as the Aria di Capua, as it's known. Did you write any notes?
No.
I did. I wrote a lot of them.
I was terrible this episode. Oh.
So the B4 was one of the 3 prototypes. Why is he called the B4? I always thought it was a clever thing, this is the before model.
Right, I guess maybe it was the first one. I forget to explain that. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
I haven't seen it in a while either, but they don't really go into it. But I'm just using this episode to kind of assume that he's one of the 3 failed ones. Another interesting tie-in to B4, though, is that when they talk about Data's childhood, she tells him that his motor skills were off, that he was very kind of slow. Yeah, he was. It's probably really awkward.
Well, I'm thinking of it how Lowell. Remember Lowell was like that?
Yes.
She couldn't catch.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's cool because androids that are, because Data's not based on any one person. Of course, he has bits and pieces of all the colonists apparently, and all their journals and diaries and things like that to use as a reference.
Which means,
but he's a completely
Soong
creation.
Took everybody's journals and scanned them into Data or whatever.
Right.
Or he broke into everybody's digital journals.
I think the colonists, I think were in on it. They were very supportive. I would love to know more about how Noonien and Juliana came to Omicron Theta and got into all this stuff. I know Star Trek's not so huge that they can do these really weird side projects, but a short treks or a series of short treks Sean, who comes on the show, says like short trek should be free of all boundaries. Like, so why couldn't they go back to TNG and like shed some light on some of the concepts that were introduced there?
I mean, so far, the first set of short treks are based on Discovery, right?
Star Trek Discovery.
And then the new ones are Picard.
The only one that we get that I think actually goes into that territory is the cartoon Ephraim and Dot, which I have to give it kudos for because it follows the Enterprise from TOS Kirk era to Star Trek 3. Even though there was a mistake where they had the 1701 Enterprise exploding over the Genesis planet, but it said 1701A on the hull. So, no big deal, but, you know.
Whatever. Stupid show.
No big deal. And Michael Giacchino, the composer of the Star Trek 2009, Star Trek, I think he did all the way through Beyond. And I think he did Rogue One soundtrack too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
And a ton of other stuff. He directed it. So if you get a chance to check out that shorts track, it does a good job of hitting all the emotional notes. And so does this episode.
I like how you veered away and then brought it back.
It's always about that. I wrote a note that I liked that she thought that Data was with Deanna.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, your sexuality program works. Noonien was afraid that it wouldn't. Of course it doesn't work. Data never uses it.
I mean, it worked once and that's it, I
guess? Times.
Or 2 times? Yeah, that's right. That girl with the
really creepy, awkward Data relationship episode. Something is wrong with you.
You're not my mother.
I would be so scared if Data freaked out on me.
Where the hell did Data learn that's the way to act? Like from soap operas?
Soap operas, for sure.
There's also the episode where he goes to that planet where they have to evacuate the people.
Oh, and he has to...
And he kisses the girl at the end because he's like,
that's right.
It appeared that you needed it.
Good memory. That's a good one. So he doesn't flex the sexuality program.
But
much.
That's what 3 times in 7
years
and 4 movies.
Let's see, what else did I write down? Oh, he gets his creativity from Mom. Like Soon was just gonna programming with no creativity. Can you imagine?
Right.
If like Data didn't paint or any of his like other hobbies, so he would just go and sit.
Yeah,
and just stare. And that's what he would do.
Or just like or work 24/7, just be on the bridge constantly.
What else? What did you think about the whole philosophical thing about artificial life is less? Because he asked her, would you have left your biological child behind? And she says no. And then he's like, oh, I see. So you value artificial life less than biological life. And she doesn't really... I don't know if I got an answer from her, but what do you think?
Well, that's a question that comes up a few times in Next Generation, right? Like, what is Data or anything like Data as equal to a flesh and blood type of creature? I think they are. I mean, in this kind of world where you have fucking what are they called? The Shellyites or whatever, who are like made of rocks.
The Shellyak. Which is that episode, going back to that same episode that you just referenced, yeah.
When you live in a universe with that kind of stuff, or galaxy with that kind of stuff, I don't know how you can not treat Data the same.
Something interesting came up in the latest short treks, the Children of Mars. Can I give you a spoiler?
Shoot.
So, you've seen the trailers for Picard that are playing in front of the football?
In the footballs, yeah.
Nice footballs. So, the scene where he's sitting like in what looks like 10 forward, and there's like explosions on a planet in the background.
Okay.
So in this episode of Short Treks and Children of Mars, it takes place, I don't know, probably like 10 years after Nemesis, I'm going to guess. And it follows the daughters of two workers on the Utopia Planitia space yards, what do you call it? Shipyards on Mars. And there's an attack while these girls are at school. It's like a 9/11 type thing. There's like devastation across all of Mars. All the aerial facilities are destroyed. All the dry docks and things like that are under attack. It's kind of like in Battlestar Galactica when the Cylons come and invade Caprica. It's reminiscent of that. Anyways, they say the attack is by rogue synths, as in synthetics. So in another trailer for Picard, they have like a row of these like synthetic looking life forms that look a lot like Data. They're Soong type androids. No idea, of course, I don't have an inside source or anything like that. This is pure speculation. But without Data to kind of defend this rule against mass-producing Soong type androids, would the Federation go ahead and create many of them as a labor force?
An army of Data is against the Borg?
Or that, to like mitigate the loss of life of people, of like, of like biological life forms. And of course these rogue ones, what do? They go and they attack Mars and stuff like that. I think that would be a pretty compelling reason for Picard to leave Starfleet as he does, because maybe the whole time he's been like, I've told you not to do this, like this is not, like he's been against it or whatever.
Right.
And now he has to get back in the saddle. I kind of like that. What do you think?
I actually like that idea a lot.
Yeah, so this is totally speculation. I don't know. But this is kind of like the direction that it seems to be going in.
And I mean,
we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Using the B4 leftover.
And lore. They have lore and the B4. They have both of them.
And all of a sudden, Juliana goes missing.
Oh, if that ever gets out, holy shit. Like, could you imagine? Section 31 goes.
By Bashir. He has to go on.
Bashir goes and saves Juliana. Hey, I don't know if this happened either, but gosh darn it, if I were in charge of Star Trek, Fiona would have totally reprised her role, and it would make sense that she's older.
Yeah.
Just saying. There's a lot of things.
Just
this episode could be bigger than we thought.
Could be the catalyst for the entire Picard show.
Oh, the formula was the Fourier system.
Fourier system.
What did you think of the scene? I always like the Noonien Soong scenes. I like that he dresses like a samurai. Like an off-duty samurai.
So I just came out of the holodeck running my feudal Japan program. I love those people.
Well, I don't have any more notes. Those are my notes.
Well, the ghost dad conversation always annoys me. Usually in most storylines, they've used it. They've used it a few times with Soong, and it has
Wesley's dad.
A plausible enough explanation with the technology, just like Wesley's dad.
Yeah.
So I guess I let it slide.
So Star Trek has a loophole for the ghost dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because generally, like in Man of Steel, he has a ghost dad moment with But I don't let that one slide, even though they have the technology, because in that sense, it's like, no, because this technology is only here for the convenience.
But if the Kryptonians are as advanced as Noonien Soon, and they appear to be more advanced, those could be Jor-El's memory engrams implanted into that bullshit.
Right.
Sorry, MacGuffin? No, I don't know.
Into the object.
Good. Kylo Ren, approach my throne. Not thorn. My thorny throne.
My crane arm can't reach that far.
Kylo, go kill my granddaughter because I'm totally irrational.
But then if you do...
I'm having the best time. Just telling people to kill each other. And then to kill me.
When they called me for this role again, I was more than pleased.
To resurrect myself using the dark side of the Force.
I read the script.
A pathway to abilities some consider unnatural.
To paychecks some would say have a lot of zeros.
Oh, jeez. I hope so. Ian McDiarmid totally deserves those zeros. What did I not cover? What did we not talk about?
I don't know. This is
performances were great.
Because this episode doesn't really have any of those little weird side filler.
It does have that subplot about the magma and the core.
No, I'm just saying, like, the last episode we did, how it had the cat stuff and, like...
yeah.
You know, this episode's very...
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It's packed.
Yeah, it's true.
Well condensed, put in there. And it's really, to me, one of the best episodes of TNG and what the show does best with characters,
But do you think you kind of need, as we talked about, you need everything that came before to have the maximum impact with this episode?
For sure. It's not totally... it's standalone. You get the gist.
If you didn't see any of the other episodes, you're gonna get the most important factors,
right?
But it does enhance the experience when you have seen the whole season. As it did, I remember it was a big deal when this episode happened, when it actually came out, and I was like through the moon, as I always was in the family episodes. What character on TNG did you, in high school, not now as a full-fledged adult, but in high school, what character did you gravitate towards the most in TNG?
Probably, I like Data was my favorite character for sure. Because
I would actually pretend I was Data. Like, I really loved him that much. I would actually turn into an android sometimes, just like the kid in that episode.
I remember that Halloween where you dressed up as Data with the white makeup and everything. You did whiteface, basically.
That was not Data. That's embarrassing. That was Powder. But I'm glad you remember it as Data. That's awesome. I think later I started telling people it was Data because it was cooler than Powder.
Oh, well, yeah, that is weird now.
It is weird.
I'm going to keep remembering it as Data.
Yes, I think that's from now on. I officially was just the Powder thing is a lie.
It's gonna be like it's gonna be like Data's mom, and I'm just gonna go with the lie.
Hold on. What happened, Ruben?
Nothing at all. Just
Oh, okay. Oh, there was so much fun dressing up as Data that one Halloween.
And soon remade his wife. And kept banging her.
Oh, jeez.
It seems really weird. Soon was a messed up dude, man. I think Soon was like a Jim Jones. You know who Jim Jones is? The cult leader?
You're talking about like the Kool-Aid?
Yeah, the guy who made everybody drink the Kool-Aid.
The Jonestown Massacre?
I think that was...
like the craziest
I think that was Soon.
Cultist event, right?
I think he kept the town under control with his evil androids. Don't make me angry or I'll turn lore back on.
No. You know what? I wouldn't doubt it. That's kind of like crazy. That is kind of nuts. We didn't really talk about it except for in the beginning, but it is ironic that Juliana left him. Do you think the real Juliana... Do you think there was some... I mean, really, there should be no difference. The personality of the android is like...
identical.
A continuation of the real Juliana Soong.
So she...
Or O'Donnell, which is her maiden name. We find out all her names, which is kind of a cool thing, too. Right. So she took on her husband's name. So she was O'Donnell, Soong, and now Tainer. And I liked Mr. Tainer. I thought he was a good old guy. Interesting alien with the really elongated ears. Whatever his species was.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
There's a book I have. I'm going to try to look it up on that book. Hold on. While I do that, what are your... well, I'm going to give you my rating.
Atrian.
Oh, they're Atrians?
Yeah.
That's right. All right, so this is the field guide to Star Trek, to the aliens of Star Trek. So let's see if we can find Atrians. How do you spell it?
It was Atrean. Atrean.
All right, hold on. I don't think it's... There he is. Okay. Home planet Atria 4. And these are aliens that have giant ears and are weirdly racist against Data. For the most part, the Atrian guy we meet is a pretty normal scientist, except at one point he starts talking about how they should get a human to check Data's work because he is only an android. That was the scene I was referring to. Which is ironic because it turns out that his wife is not only Data's mom, but she is secretly an android too. A long time ago, she died and Dr. Nguyen Soon stuck her brain in an android body, and she doesn't even know she is an android, but Data does, and he is not sure if he should tell her. Data wants to be close to her, even though it was her decision to leave Data behind when the crystalline entity attacked. She said she couldn't deal with having to deactivate Data like she did Lore when he turned out to be evil, which is bullshit. It's not even that she did it because she thought it would have been wrong to kill Data. She did it because she was too selfish to deal with the guilt. And Data finally has the chance to have another android to talk to not be so lonely all the time, but he puts her happiness above his. Fuck her. Fuck her for putting Data to sleep like he was for her fucking pet. Like she is so much better than he is. Data is not selfish at all. He gives and gives and gives, and in return all he gets is bullshit like this alien, implying he is not as good as a human. That's the field guide.
Imagine if Data was like, Data, you should be angry as Jordy, you know? It's like, okay, activating anger program. And he just grabs her by the neck. He's like, you left me to die on that planet.
There's also we should do the previous aliens, the Hekarans from Force of Nature. These aliens have really weird forehead creases that make me uncomfortable. I don't know why, but they remind me of vaginas. Do you remember what they look like? They seem kind of sexually shaped to me. Two of the aliens, who are scientists, figure out that using warp drive too much can damage the fabric of space. Lots of ships go by their planet, and if it keeps happening, eventually their planet will be destroyed. But the Federation won't listen to them because it would be inconvenient. It seems like people usually don't care very much about the environment, and I think mostly it is because they are lazy and selfish. Last year, when I was at a protest, I met a guy from a socialist club. I thought it would be pretty cool to join, but it was disappointing. The guy basically said that workers' rights were the most important thing, even more than the environment, and I don't think that is always true. What was worse, though, was that in order for me to join their club, I would have to stand around on the streets selling their newspapers, which seems like the most boring thing possible. So I quit after 3 days. He doesn't mention that that scientist was terrible. She was an environmental terrorist.
An environmental nightmare. She literally created the first rift of this whole problem.
It's true. I can't believe they could have come up with like a patch or a way to prevent it or reverse it before it even began.
She's like,
she would have let the core on this planet solidify. She would have been like,
yeah. Why is anyone listening to me?
All right, it's rating time.
It's rating time. Hallelujah.
I give this episode a 10.
Oh.
A solid 10. I just love it. I love it so much, and watching it again, I was really delighted by it. Again, and then discussing it with you and I hadn't even thought of some of these things that we talked about tonight. We're tying it into this like larger arc.
Right,
I mean, I guess
right.
I thought about it passively, but not like this. So I really love it. I think it's a fantastic episode. Excellent writing, excellent directing, which, by the way, we didn't even give credits. But while you give your rating, I'll look it up.
Yeah, this episode's really good. Like, there's no way around it. It's a really good episode. It's very tight, start to finish, engaging. Sure, it doesn't have much in the way of sci-fi action or whatever, but I don't really care about those things. So I'm kind of struggling here because I wrote down 9.5.
Oh, wow.
But I kind of want to give it a 10.
Go the distance. Give it a 10. Just do it.
I'm going to give it a 10.
Yeah!
Give it
a double 10.
Double 10. Double.
The director of this episode is Robert Scheer. I think he's done a bunch of Star Trek. Let me take a look at him.
Excuse me.
Good choices, Robert Scheer. Yeah, he's done Voyager, Deep Space Nine, several TNG episodes that are all really good. Yeah, really good ones. He's done 11 episodes. Falcon Crest.
Wow. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Dynasty. He's a powerhouse of TV. Interesting. And then it was teleplayed by Dan Kopel and Renee Echeverria. There's a Renee Echeverria episode.
The infamous
Renee
Echeverria.
And actually the story was by Naren Shankar, who does The Expanse.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was Renee, and Renee is credited as the story editor, but the actual story was Naren Shankar. He's also doing that show as the executive producer for All Mankind. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's an Apple... You know, Apple has its own...
Right. The Apple streaming...
production company now, too, and they're producing television.
Yeah.
And I think it's a Ron D. Moore concept, if I'm not sure. He's the showrunner, the lead story writer. What do you call that? The lead writer. But that show takes place in a world where Russia beat us to the moon.
That's going to be another Apple show?
That is, it's happening right now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, and you know, if you have I know you're an Android person, but I know you have a Mac too. If you have an Apple ID or an iTunes account, or like just like an Apple ID, you can get a year of Apple TV for free by signing up for it.
Oh, well, there you go. This episode not
there
brought to you by Apple.
And that was unsolicited. That was unsolicited advice. I did not get paid by Apple.
But if Apple did want to sponsor the show, we would not say no.
They're totally welcome. We would not say no. Yes, we would love for Apple to be a sponsor.
Yes. I would like a MacBook Pro.
You deserve one. I tell you, if this show's successful, I'll upgrade your studio over there. We'll start there.
I want a new iMac. That's going to be my next baby, I think.
Nice. I would love to have that insane Power Mac Pro, whatever it's called, the Mac Pro.
Oh, the tower one?
The tower with the insane display.
Yeah.
But it is way beyond my my price tag. My desirable price tag for computer equipment.
Just a little bit beyond what I want to spend.
It's like warp. It's like if there was a warp speed limit, I couldn't even catch up with where the the price of that Mac Pro is. But no, my next computer will be an iMac too. I'm really happy with my current iMac. I love it, so I'm excited that your next computer is going to be an iMac.
Yeah, I love my MacBook Pro. Don't get me wrong, but I really loved having the iMac before. I miss it. Yeah,
it's a great computer. Any closing thoughts? Anything to promote? Anything going on in the world that people should know about Our Martian?
Nope. Got some new scripts being read at Naked Angels Miami. If anyone's in South Florida, it's every Tuesday at 9. You can find it on Facebook. Some new scripts being read. One of the scripts that I like to call "Do the Right Thing Meets the Exorcist," and that's my elevator pitch.
That's a good one. It got my attention.
With a dash of Clue. Trying to write a kind of, I haven't seen Knives Out yet, but a sort of murder mystery kind of thing in South Florida.
Is Knives Out based on Clue?
No, but it's one of those kind of
caper?
whodunit, murder on the Orient.
Whodunits, rather, I should say.
Yeah, more murder on the Orient Express kind of movies. And so I've always wanted to write one, so I'm halfway through a script right now. That's about it for now.
Very nice. And where can people follow you on Twitter?
Twitter, I am R Martian. At R Martian.
Is there another platform that you want to lead folks to more?
No, I'm usually on Twitter, but I'm also R Martian 76 on Instagram. I think I have.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can usually find me as R Martian or R Martian 76 pretty much anywhere. And I'm on everything.
Are we following each other? I mean, I know we are on my regular account, but is Starfleet Boy following you? And are you following Starfleet Boy on Instagram?
I don't know. I'm really bad with Instagram.
Well, this is your chance to find out. And audience, follow R Martian 1976?
No, just 76.
Oh, R Martian 76 on Instagram, and follow at Starfleet Boy on Instagram. You can also find me at Starfleet Boy on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube, which is where we're at right now, unless you're listening to the audio on iTunes or other streaming platform. In which case, wow. Hello to you too.
Thank you for listening.
You can also tune into Drunk Space 9, which another show that R Martian joins us for, and he was on the most recent one, and it was a riot. It was the little green McClunky. McClunky. It's a thing now. I've heard it everywhere. I feel like I discovered it with Eduardo, but now it's everywhere. So maybe others are discovering it beforehand or more. McClunky.
I gotta actually check to see if that movie is available to you. So I can catch
on Disney Plus.
Sure.
Okay, good. Anyways.
Sure, let's go with that.
Audience, please like us down below if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. What else can people do? Oh, leave a comment.
Indeed.
Comment down below. I love comments. I love to engage with you guys in the comments, so type away. And that's it. So live long and prosper. And we'll see you next time.